Hello, friends, and welcome into Ravens Rundown by Chat Sports. I am your host, Tom Downey, here with some news around Baltimore. A rather unexpected and I would argue surprising signing here by the Ravens. They've added Ja'Wuan James, the injured offensive tackle, who is not expected to play this season. Now, this contract is different than what you would normally see in this type of situation. For starters here, James has agreed to a deal with the Ravens. Now, that's the main thing. He gets $50K guaranteed this season. Only counts half of that on the salary cap this year while he rehabs. So he's getting $500,000 to get back in shape. Now, the majority of this money, in theory, will come in 2021. That's when the impact is set to be felt here. He gets $2.5 million in 2022 if he makes the roster. He's got about $5 million coming in incentives as well. In the end, it ends up coming to about $8 million. There's some other change involved there in total. Two-year deal worth up to $9 million in total. So in reality, think about this way. It is a one-year deal with a team option in year, kind of like the right of first refusal for the Ravens to see what Ja'Wuan James offers. So get your votes in for me. What is your one-word reaction to the signing? I'm going to go with creative. I think that's a good way to describe what the Ravens have done here, but get your votes for me in the comments section. Now, James is a few years removed from being the highest paid offensive tackle in the NFL. He goes from the Miami Dolphins to the Denver Broncos, and he plays a grand total of 3 games. Got a very expensive amount of money in just those 3 games. Just 63 snaps. The pass grade, the run grade were not particularly great either, but injuries were a massive part of that. So what the Ravens are doing here is setting up some insurance and maybe some buy low investment as well at the right tackle position. Alejandro Villanueva, he is there for the time being. More on him in just a second. Ja'Wuan James, meanwhile, could compete for that role next year in 2022. I mean, make no mistake about it. James is not going to make an impact. That's not what his contract is. What you could see happen now in Baltimore next offseason and next preseason and camp and all that good stuff is a potential roster battle. Obviously, James is not guaranteed that much money in 2022, but if he comes back healthy, I think it'd be a Villanueva versus James potential, at least starting position battle. The Ravens, with the way they structured the Villanueva deal, even though it was a 2-year, $14 million contract, they could cut him after this season with $3.25 million in dead money. And they would save $6 million, by the way, by doing so. So if James comes back and he's healthy, and he's the guy that the Ravens, saw play for the Miami Dolphins way back when, with the way that deal is structured, it's really not that expensive. Now, I don't know what the incentives are that could bring it up to $8 million in 2021, but if he's healthy, the Ravens might have found themselves a potential option at right tackle long term. The Gus Bus isn't going anywhere in Baltimore. He has agreed to an extension as well with the Baltimore Ravens. Now, he agreed to a 2-year, $10 million extension. There's a $3.75 million signing bonus. Now, Edwards, as a reminder, folks, was already set to play on a 1-year, $3.38 million RFA tender. So put all those numbers together, probably comes out a little bit more to 3 years, closer to $13 million. I actually just saw the cap hits in terms of what he's making there. $1 million this year, so it brought down his cap hit this year. $3.25 million next year, and then a little over $4.3 in 2023. So Edwards is now part of this duo at the running back position, which he will play a key role in. Last year, 2020, 144 carries for a 5 flat average there, plus he chipped in 6 touchdowns. Now, on a slightly smaller sample size, Edwards was slightly more efficient, 0.3 yards there back in 2019. Not a massive difference in the end in terms of the way I would view the impact there in the long run. But he is going to be a key part of this running back room. It is going to be J.K. Dobbins, and it's going to be Gus Edwards. And then, yes, you'll see some Justice Hill, I'm sure, mixed in there as well. But this is going to be the 1-2 punch for Baltimore. And I would argue from a cost standpoint, especially this upcoming season before the salary cap skyrockets here, and also just from a reliability standpoint, benefiting, of course, from the play of the very dynamic and deadly Lamar Jackson, the Dobbins-Edwards 1-2 punch is one of the better ones in the NFL. Is it top 5? Maybe. I think you make a good argument there for top 10. $5 million per year sounds expensive. It's not going to be quite that much in the long run on the in terms of the impact on the salary cap wise, just because I think they're going to include the RFA tender as part of that. But I like Edwards. He's a good football player, and at his age, at his size, maybe he doesn't get another contract beyond that, at least an expensive one there. But for what the Ravens have invested in him, which wasn't that much to begin with where they found him coming out of Rutgers, and what they have with Dobbins and Edwards, I'm okay with it. Now, it's not going to preclude them from re-signing Lamar Jackson, nor should it, but I think this is a good pickup here by the Ravens to, not pickup, but extension, I should say, for Gus Edwards. Now, in general, I don't believe in paying running backs. It's not a thing I'm a huge fan of. $5 million on the extension side of it, that's not that bad. So grade it for me. A, B, C, D, or F. How do you feel about the Edwards extension? I'm kind of more in the B category. It's not a massive commitment. It's cheaper than what the Broncos paid Melvin Gordon, and that's a win for me. But you don't want to overinvest in the running back position. On the bright side, maybe by the time Edwards' deal is up, you're looking to extend J.K. Dobbins. Maybe you bring in a new back then, as they kind of did with the Mark Ingram situation. So I'm fine with it. It is paying it back, but it's not a bad extension as far as I'm concerned.